Okay. So as we are discussing addition, subtraction, multiplication, here is a one instruction. But in program, you have implemented a number of program in C programming in first year, right? So in one program, there is a number of instruction you will use, right? If you want to implement any program, you will use a number of instruction. So when you will use a number of instruction, that time you could say it is a program because it is a set of executable instruction. So in the program is nothing but a set of executable instruction. So here, as we know, the computer cannot understand our language. So definitely we have to provide the instruction in such a way the computer can understand the instruction. So we'll discuss in later how we'll provide the instruction. The second thing is the data. So again, your instruction and data again in the same form, which is 0 and 1. Because the computer can understand only 0 and 1. For him, it is data only. For the instruction is also data. And the data, because your instruction is again in the form of data only. So data, but the data and the instruction is different. We provide a data, for example, if you are performing addition operation. In addition operation, you are using two variables, for example, A and B. So we can say this A and B are the operand of the instruction. In assembly language, if you are writing add A comma B, for example, R1 comma R2, what it means? These are the two operand, A and B. And suppose A value is a 10 and B value is a 10. And the instruction is what? Add is an instruction, that is addition. So with this instruction, what your computer will perform? Your computer will add A and B, and it will send output. You can transfer your output to the next variable, that is a C, and you will get the answer, that is a 20. So information stored in a computer consists of instruction and or data. So whatever the information stored in the computer, this information, either it could be the instruction or it could be the data. Because after all, it can be instruction or it can be a data, it is always in a binary form. It encoded in binary code, that is in the form of 0 and 1. Okay. So now we'll see the 5 different unit, which is very simple, the 5 different computer unit. The first one is input unit. So no need to discuss in detail this topic, but actually we are going to start this subject, so properly to understand each and every the part we are going to discuss in detail. Input unit, we know what are the different types of inputs units are there, like keyboard, mouse, joystick, trackball. These are the input unit. So whenever you press any button on through the keyboard or through the mouse, actually you are providing input data to the computer. So computer accept some coded information through the input unit, which read the data. Why it is a coded information? If you are pressing a B or if you are pressing a 5, how it is a coded information? Because as we discussed earlier, the computer can understand only 0 and 1. So actually all your data is converted into the ASCII number, and ASCII number, the computer store this information in the form of binary. So even if you are pressing H, for the H, there is a respective ASCII number is there, and for the ASCII number, the computer store this data in the form of binary in 0 and 1 only. That is not the case like the computer store H character as it is in the memory. First, it is converted into the coded information. That's why the computer accepts some coded information through the input unit, which read the data. So whenever the key is pressed, the corresponding letter digit is automatically translated into its corresponding code. that is encoded is performed and sent directly to memory or processor. Suppose if you are storing into the memory, automatically whatever the information you are giving from the input unit, it will be stored into the memory or it will go to the processor for the execution. So it is not the case. I hope you understood here. Your data is not directly going as it is. For example, if you are placing the character first, it is converted into the coded information like ASCII and ASCII to the binary, and it will be stored into the computer memory or it will go to the processor for the execution. But how actually your information converted into the signal? Because whatever you are pressing actually it is converting. So we understood it is converting into the 0 and 1. But how actually your data is going through the wire? That is another question, right? How actually the computer can understand? Because you know the sine wave, how your electric signal sine wave. So it is like this, always that is in the form of this cycle, right? So here if you see, always if you consider here when it is a high voltage, that is a 1. If it is a low voltage, that is a 0. So here it is a continuous data 1 0 1 0, right? And suppose if, as I am telling you, your data is converted into the binary, right? So suppose there is a 5 for assume for the B, the ASCII value is a 5, right? And if you press a B button, so that time what will happen? Your 5 is whenever you press a B, it will refer to the ASCII value that is a 5, and for the 5, it is converted into binary. So for the binary, it is 0 1 0 1. So here the 0 1 0 1 data will be sent. Okay. So but if it is 0 1 0 1, then it is okay. Through the sine wave you can send, because here you could see your here it is the low is 0 and high is 1. But what about if your data is not 0 1 0 1? Instead of 0 1 0 1, if your data is like 1 1 1 0 or 0 0 1 0 1 1 0 0. So in this case, we cannot use this sine wave for the data transmission, right? As we have seen, your mouse as well as the keyboard is connected through the wire, and the wire is generating the signal. So it is going. But how actually it is converted? So for this conversion, there is a different types of line coding schemes are there. So here are some line coding schemes are there. There are the number of line coding schemes like unipolar, polar, bipolar, Manchester, D-Manchester, NRZ, return to 0, biphase, differential Manchester. So number of line coding schemes are there. What is the use of this line coding scheme? This line coding scheme convert your signal as per your data. It is very simple. You can easily understand. For example, your data is here is like 101011, and here we are using for NRJDL scheme. So for example, for the 1 we are using 5 volt, and for the 0 we are using a 0 volt. So consider here 0 volt. Actually, to keep 0 volt, which is very difficult, there's another issue, that is TC component problem is there. But here we consider, here it is 0 volt and here it is a 5 volt, and whenever here it is a 5 volt, that is a 1, and if it is 0 volt, that is a 0. So by this way we can send our data through the input unit, through the wire, right? and it is possible. Now the computer can understand 1 0 1 0 1 1 0 0 1 0. So this is the way actually we send the data. So you might have thinking why there are so many line coding scheme. The problem is solved now, right? We able to send this data with this line coding scheme. So why there are these different line coding scheme? Okay. So now send me answer. What is the reason why there are so many line coding schemes are there? Now we can able to send a data through the wire. But still, why there are so many line coding scheme are there? Can you put your answer through the chat box? Anyone? Why unnecessary number of line coding scheme they have developed? Because the problem is solved. No? Now we can able to send a data, right, through the electric signal. So why there are number of line coding schemes are there? Different types of signal techniques are there. Anyone? Are you with me? Kindly acknowledge through the chat box. Kindly reply in chat box. Are you with me? Are you there? Anyone? You are getting what I am discussing here? Because computer understand only machine language. Yes, so computer understand only machine language, so the problem is solved. No, 1010. We can able to convert our respective data in the form of signal, right? Because after all, in your computer, you have seen there are wire only, right? And through the wire only, this 1010 will be transferred. It could be the signal, it could be the data, or it could be the instruction, right? Okay, the next Mali Sahara says to increase the speed of data transformation. Right answer. To increase the speed, range matter, range in terms of what kind of range? So the answer is not clear. The next one is after the large data, it becomes bulky. Okay. So actually it is a big topic, but uh, in a small discussion, I will try to cover this the complete topic. Actually, do you know how the computer works? The computer works on a clock tick. Every computer have the clock tick, and your computer converts your signal or data. It is transmitted in the form of clock tick. So this is a, for example, time duration of clock tick of one computer. Okay, and the another computer have the clock tick duration is this much. This is the clock tick duration of the another computer. Now suppose here, if you are sending 1 1, your computer is sending data 1 1. But what the another computer receiving this data, it is considering as only 1. Because the another computer clock tick is this much only, okay? So it is dividing your one signal into two parts. So either you are sending 1, but the another computer is converting into the 1 1. It may happen. Because the computer clock tick is different. So we have to take care of one problem, that is a synchronization. Synchronization. Synchronization means what? We have to manage both clock tick time, right? If until and unless both computer clock tick time is same, the computer cannot interpret your data correctly. So this is a one issue, that is a synchronization. So what we have to do here, actually we have to provide a synchronization information to the another computer. We have to provide this information to another computer. What kind of information? Time duration information. What is the clock tick time duration of my computer? So actually how this information can be transmitted? So this information we can provide by whenever the signal is changing. Okay. So here the signal change and here the signal change. So whenever the signal change, the computer can identify the clock tick duration. So it is very important that your signal should change with, and because as soon as the signal change, the computer get this timing information and the computer can synchronize. This is a one reason. This is one concept that you should understand. And second reason is that is a DC component. DC component means what? Actually, whenever the signal is at zero, we are saying at zero, but actually there is some residual current is there. Residual voltage is there. So it is not exactly zero. So that's why that issue is called a DC component issue. So we have to take care of these two problems. Another problem is, for example, by one car, if only one passenger is traveling, and there is one road. On one road, in every car, there is only one passenger. What will happen? The traffic increases on the road, right? If the 1,000 passenger want to travel by the same road and every passenger have its own car, what will happen? The traffic increases on the road, right? So how you can minimize the traffic from the road? Can you post your answer? How you can minimize the traffic from the road? If 1,000 passenger want to travel by the same road and every passenger traveling by its own vehicle, and because of that the traffic increases on the road and you want to minimize the traffic. अभी आपको क्या करना है? Traffic को minimize करना है. So then what you will do? Okay, by using some other vehicle, for example bus, we will use a public vehicle, right? Right. By sharing cab. So instead of every passenger using its own vehicle, they can share it. The 4 passenger can share one car. By this way, by instead of 100%, only 25% car will be there on the road to carry 1,000 passenger. Am I right? If every 4 person traveling by the one car, right? So the same analogy you can use in a wire. In a wire, actually, there is a bandwidth. Bandwidth is analogous to road. Bandwidth is like a road, right? And your signal is nothing but like a car. Signal is what? Car. And your bit is what? The bit, like 1 0. This bit is like a passenger, right? So in earlier, if you see there is a 2G, 3G, 4G. So as the technology, you will find the data rate increases, right? Similarly in Ethernet, if you see there is a standard Ethernet, gigabit Ethernet, 10 gigabit Ethernet. So you will find how the technology changes. So actually what we have to do, your wire is like a road and signal is like a car. So what we have to do, we have to send a number of bit in one signal. So as soon as if you're able to send and if you able to represent a number of bit in one signal, what it mean? It is like a one car carrying a 2 passenger. And by this way, the road is the same. Wire is the same, but you can able to send more data through the wire. So this is the reason unipolar having one issue. Like if all the bits are 1, then what will happen? The computer will get a continuous high voltage signal, and the computer not able to synchronize the clock tick timing information. That's why it is very important, very important to change the signal. So that's why there are number of line coding scheme techniques are there. So I hope all you understood this concept, how actually your data transmitted through the wire. So we have discussed about the input unit. There are different input units are there, and this input unit send information to the computer, and this information either will store into the memory, or it will go to the processor for the execution. And the input units are keyboard, mouse, joystick, this ball, different types of input units are there. Okay, the second one is output unit. In uh, output unit, by the name you can easily understand by which you are getting an output. So it could be the monitor, it could be the printer. So this output unit function of this unit is to send or display the result or process the information to the outside world. So suppose whatever the information the computer processing, that information you will get you could see by the monitor or by the printer, or there are number of different types of output units are there to get the information, right? So input unit, output unit. The next one is a memory unit. So there are different types of memory units in the computer. Okay. So kindly answer me through the chat box. What are the different types of memory units are there in computers? What are different types of memory? Even in your mobile phone, whenever you buy a mobile phone, you will check two to three things, right? So similarly, what are the different types of memory unit in the computer? Right, Devendra? There's a RAM, ROM. Yes, RAM, ROM, and another memory unit is another one is your hard disk, right? Hard disk, where you store your all types of information, and whenever you are processing any information, it will go to the RAM, ROM for the execution, right? Right. So broadly, we can categorize this memory unit in two categories, that is primary and secondary. Okay. So as we discussed earlier, your computer uh, can understand only 1 and 0. And even we have seen how your 1 and 0 transmitted through the wire. So obviously, if you are the computer understand only 1 and 0, and if the wire able to send your data in the form of signal, and it is 1 and 0, so obviously in the memory also the data would be stored into the memory in the form of 1 and 0 only. So in memory, we store a program and the data, right? So it could be the program or it could be the data. Even we have seen whenever you use it, it could be the data, it could be the movie, or it could be a song, it could be your word file, it could be a doc file, PDF file, or different kind of data is there. So there is mainly two classes of storage, that is primary and a secondary memory. So why actually these two types of storage required? Like the one is a fast and the second one is slower. This is the main reason. Because the hard disk is a slower, and in the execution the computer works very fast and your hard disk is very slow. In unit number 3 or 4 we'll discuss in detail and you could understand the time difference in between the processor execution and the working of hard disk. You will find there's a big difference in the both timing. So it is not possible to the work the both the things like hard disk and processor work at the same time, because one is very slower and the another one, the processor, is very faster. So for that, what we have to do, we have require two types of storage. So you may ask why instead of the secondary storage, we use a primary storage for the to store the complete data. Even this reason you will come to know in unit number 3. How actually the fast memory storage you will get and why through the hard disk it is a slower. So the primary storage is a faster. Obviously the processor is executing any instruction, so that time to access the data, to retrieve data, and to process the data, a fast memory unit required. So the primary storage. So program must be stored in a memory while they are being executed. So before execution, what we have to do, we have to load our program into the primary memory, and the processor take the program from the primary memory for the execution. So in the primary memory, there could be the large number of semiconductor. In the primary memory, there's a large number of semiconductor storage cell. So in the RAM, you will find there is a large number of semiconductor storage cell. Until and unless there is a power supply is there, it will store your data. If the power cut is there, the RAM will be cleared automatically. But in a hard disk, your data will be there even there is a power cut, right? You have experienced this. So semiconductor works very fast, but continuous power supply required, right? So in the RAM, there's a large number of semiconductor storage cells are there, which are used to store your data. It processed in words. So there are addresses are there to access a particular data from the RAM. In the secondary storage is your larger in size and cheaper in the cost. Again, if you will compare, you can easily buy 1 terabyte hard disk. But have you seen 1 terabyte RAM? No, right. So actually there is a difference in between the cost. The secondary storage, you will easily get 1 terabyte memory hard disk in a cheaper cost. But in the RAM, here the cost is very high. So that's why in a computer you will find there's a primary storage and secondary storage. As well as the cache is there. So we'll discuss in detail in unit number 3 and 4 about the cache, primary memory, and the secondary memory. Next one is arithmetic logic unit, ALU. That is the heart of your computer. That is the brain of your computer. Sorry, that is the brain of your computer. So the computer, the most computer operations are executed in ALU of the processor. So what is the function of this ALU? It executes your instruction. So whatever instruction you are giving to the computer, it will be executed in the ALU only. So it will load the operands into memory. For example, suppose if you want to perform addition operation, so A and B, these are the two operands are there. A is equal to 10, B is equal to 10. So A and B, these two operands are loaded into the memory and into your primary memory, then bring them into the processor for the execution, and then ALU perform operation on A and B operand, and then store the result back into the memory or the written into the processor. So if the result is C, and if you want the result, the C result will be stored into the memory, and from the memory it will be displayed into the output unit, and you will get the result. So for this operation, registers are required on these registers because after all we have to store value of A and B into the memory. So on processor, there is a different registers are there. In the registers, we store this value, the value of A and value of B, and ALU take a value of A and B from the register for the execution, and after execution, again this value would be stored into the registers only. Why again? It is for to work the ALU work very fast, and to fast control of ALU to store this value as registers required. It's all about the ALU. And the another is that is a control unit, because the one unit is required after all to coordinate in between these different types of unit. Input unit, output unit is there, memory unit is there, ALU is there. So to control all these things, obviously one control unit required. So all the computer operations are controlled by this control unit. So by the name only you can easily remember the purpose of this control unit, the controlling. So there are these different units are there. So control unit control the operations of these different types of unit. So how the controlling is possible, we are going to discuss in this subject in our further units. So the timing signals that govern input-output transfers are also generated by the control unit. And the control unit is usually distributed throughout the machine instead of standing alone. Because the control unit control your all types of operation. If you are giving any data from the input unit, the control unit help you to carry data from input unit to the either for the from input unit to the memory, and memory unit to the ALU, and after ALU to the again memory unit to the output unit. So all again do these control units required. So again the timing information required the timing signal. So in the control unit there is a timing signal. This timing signal governs the input-output transfers, or input-output operation, and all kinds of operation. So these timing signals are generated from the control unit. Okay. So today we discuss only the first topic, that is very, very simple. That is different functional unit. I hope all you understood all these different function unit: input unit, output unit, memory, arithmetic logic unit, and a control unit. Right? So in briefly, within 2 minutes, I recapitulate what we have discussed today's session. In today's session, we have seen there are different input units are there, like keyboard, mouse is there. We have seen how actually your data transmitted into the computer, because the computer, you have seen there is only the wire and the electric signal is there. So but your electric signal is in the form of sine wave, but how actually data interpreted, because your data is in the form of like 1011 11110. So the data is not like 1010, right? So there are different line coding schemes are there which used to transfer data from one point to the another point. We have seen the output units are there, like monitor is there, printer is there, memory is there. Memory, there is a two type, like primary memory and the secondary memory. We have seen what is the purpose of primary and secondary memory. Why there is a two types of memory. These things also we have discussed. We have seen that what is the purpose of arithmetic logic unit. It is like a brain of the computer, and to control all these different functional unit require a control unit. So these are the things we have discussed in today's session. So I hope all you understood the first topic, that is a functional unit. So kindly acknowledge in the chat box if you could understand our today's lecture. Kindly acknowledge. Could you understand our today's session? Dear student, this is a pandemic situation, and you are actually attending this lecture online. But I want to suggest you should note down all these things in a notebook so that it will help you to remember, because we don't know It may happen the situation might be covered in 2 months and you will be in the college, and the theory exam might be conducted. It may happen, so you should prepare. Not only this, why you are studying after all to get a job, right? And until and unless fundamentally you are not clear, it would be very difficult for you to place in any company, right? So you should attend these online lectures, which is around only, I think, 2 to 3 hours a day. The time is very less, but it will help you at the time of placement. After all, why you are taking education? To get a knowledge. It will help you to become entrepreneur as well as to get a job, right? You want to earn money, so it is not possible if you are 1 year, if you are resting, if you are not understanding ev- every concept, it would be very difficult. You will face a problem when you will be in the final year. Okay. Thank you, students, for today's session. All you have attended this session, uh, and acknowledge time to time. Kindly submit your attendance, okay, through the chat box. And how you have to submit your attendance in the same form, the class, your roll number, and the name. Submit your attendance through the chat box. The students, those who will submit the attendance, only their attendance will be considered.